I could noodle fun. It's so fun. I could noodle all day, my friends. Hi, Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here, and let me pull up. I'm gonna pull up my Facebook and YouTube because, friends, today we're gonna be talking about how to transition from one chord to the next. Friends, this is all part of the series that I've been doing where basically these are the basics that folks leave on the table. They jump into guitar right away. We all do this. It's fun, and we just want to start noodling just like this. I just get lost, right? And as 99% of guitar players do, we leapfrog some things, or I should say we skip some things. If we're leapfrogging them, I think we probably are getting them. But to me, it's like we're skipping some things. And one of those things has to do with chord transitions. So folks will have issues with going from one chord to the next, and we're going to talk specifically about how to practice this and what's the most efficient way to practice this, and how to not get distracted with other bits and pieces. So this is part of that series, okay? So I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us. You can see we're doing a few different things. We're always trying to make a better program for you guys so you can learn quickly and efficiently. So here's the deal. If you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on YouTube, there's a link inside of the description of this video. Click on that for the PDF that I've created for this broadcast, okay? It's called How to Transition from One Chord to the Next. And in this, I'll give you some chord examples. Or some song examples of famous songs, famous basic chord progressions. Now, some of them are in the Nashville number system, and some of them are in standard guitar notation, just like you would see them like a G, a C, and D, and that sort of thing. And we'll talk about that and how to read a chart so that you can understand this, because ultimately it's all about playing songs, right? And if we can't switch from one chord to the next without missing the beat or having a big pause there, it can be disheartening to the player, and of course the listener doesn't want to hear that, right? They want to hear those chords being played on time. So let's talk about that today. Yes, let's do that. And for folks, as always, if you share this, we always like to look at the folks that have shared this afterwards, and we in turn share. We like to give stuff away. So be that signed books from me, or courses, or ebook bundles. We've done all. We've given guitars away, amps, and everything else too, obviously. But today we're going to be giving away ebook bundles to folks who share, that we pick them afterwards. We pick 5 folks. All right. So please do that. Share that and share the love. Okay, so let's jump into the program right away. And then also, by the way, after we do this, after I teach the lesson, I'm going to be taking your questions both on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'll be bouncing back and forth between the two. Okay? Cool. All right, so here we go. So let's get right to the crux of the matter, which is transitioning chords. Everybody has issues with this at first, and that is because we're not sure how to do it. We know what the problem is. You know, we go from a G to a B minor, and we can do this in practice, but then when it comes to playing a song or playing live or, you know, what have you, maybe in the studio, we can't get to that chord in time, and it becomes very frustrating. And so I get this question more often than many other questions that I get, and it's what to practice to fix that. Some of you will logically say, well, you practice that. You practice the chord from G to B minor, or whatever. And you would be correct. That is exactly what you want to do. But there's also a way to do this to where you can feel your progression. Why sometimes I think people are looking for an exercise instead of actually doing the task at hand and hyper-focusing on what it is that they need to overcome. I think that people want an exercise because usually with an exercise you can feel that progression, you can feel that speed, and you can say, I know I'm improving. But when you're just doing what it is that is an issue, number one, it's reminding you how badly you suck at that particular thing. And guess what? It's not you. It's every guitar player since the beginning of time has had issues with this. And scales and everything else. It's like learning a new language. So it's no different than juggling, learning a new language, or doing something completely foreign that we've never done ever. So you're in good company. Everybody's gone through this. The great news is that with the right type of practice, you can overcome it. Okay. So let's go ahead and take out the notion that there's an exercise for this. And in fact, more often than not, if you ever are asking me on these webcasts, or you're looking for the answer on Google or on YouTube or something like that, and you're like, what exercise can I do to do blank? What I want you to do is try to train yourself to not ask that question anymore. Here's what I want you to do instead, is find out where you're at on a particular subject. In this case here, 2 chords, and you're trying to get from one chord to the next, or at least that's the broken down version of it. You may have problems with several chords going back and forth, or a whole song, but realistically, in order for us to be able to feel that progression and really dominate what it is that we're trying to conquer here, we need to hyper-focus on one specific area. So if we're playing a chord progression that's C, A minor, F, and G, and the only problem that we're having is going from the A minor to the F, then that's what we need to hyper-focus on, not the rest of the song, okay? It's almost like if you have a shirt and it's got wrinkles in it. You don't need to iron the whole shirt. You just really need to work on that wrinkle. Now, you may iron the rest of the shirt just to even things out, but that concept is so extremely important for you to understand because it's going to save you time and energy. And I don't know about you, but I would like more of both. So understanding that whatever issue that you're having with, face it head on and find out where you're at and where you need to be and how to fill in that chasm, okay? So for instance, we're trying to go from a G to a B minor. Well, in order to go from a G to a B minor, we first need to be able to play those chords cleanly by themselves. What I mean by that is, if you already can't play the G chord without any mutes or buzzing strings, then do you think adding this B minor bar chord will help or hinder? Okay? Now I'm going to ask these types of questions several times throughout this because I'm priming you to understand how important this is, okay? Of course, it's going to make it harder, right? So here we are. We're playing this G chord, and we can play that, but then we go to our B minor, and we're having an issue with that. Well, if we're adding the G and the B minor, then it's even more complicated. So I'm a big fan of breaking things down, understanding each asset that needs to be addressed. In this case, a G. And then a B minor. That's a separate one. 2 totally different things. And if you don't work on those 2 things separately and then bring them together, it's going to be very frustrating. The frustration is the thing we're really trying to avoid when we're playing guitar because it's the frustration that makes people say, I'm not good enough, I suck, gosh, I practice all the time, but I'm really not moving forward. Do any of these sound familiar to you? I must be different, I've got small hands. The reason I say all these is because I know what excuses we use. I've used them myself, and I've heard them 1,000, 10,000 times from students over the years. So, you didn't invent these, and no, your hands are not too small. I've got videos on this, okay? So, nonetheless, we've got to break these things down. So, let's say we can play our G chord, and then we can play our B minor chord. If you can't play the B minor chord cleanly, stop adding the G. Stop trying to transition between the G and the B minor. No magic is going to happen. You got to sit there and break it down. And the way we want to do this, so let's assume that one of these chords is actually a problem and you can't physically play it. then what you need to do is hyper-focus on that one chord. Cut everything else out. When you go to pick up your guitar, stop playing that one riff that you know, stop playing the easy chords that you know, and forge forward to what it is that you're having difficulty with so that you can even out your playing. So, we're on our B minor here, and let's say we're having an issue with it. We've got a muted note. Well, the only way to circumvent that is, number one, ask, well, why is that doing that? You drill down, you look, and you say, well, I can feel that that string is vibrating against the back of my finger here, so I'm obviously not pressing down hard enough. So first you have to observe, and then you have to correct. And as simple as that sounds, I guarantee you, because I've done it myself, and I still do it 30-something years later. So I know if I'm having a problem with it, and I'm super hyper-focused on things, then I know that you're having an issue with it, and I know that other guitar players are as well. So very important that we first notice what it is, what is the problem. If we don't notice what the problem is, we can't fix it. Okay? There's lots of adages and proverbs regarding this, but you got to be able to observe it first. So if you're observing it, then you're asking that question, well, what's going on? Then you correct it. With any of these fretting issues, a lot of these basics, as we're talking about, that folks leave on the table, all that stuff is covered in my free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. So if you need help with that, go there. Otherwise, we're assuming that you know some of this stuff already. Okay. So now let's assume that you've gone through all this and you've got the G chord down. And you've got the B minor down, or whatever two chords you're having issues with. Now, the reason I say two chords, even though you may be having issues with 10 chords, is because, again, we need to hyper-focus. When you go to the gym, there's, hundreds of different exercises that one can do, but typically you're going to only do a few, and specifically a body part or a grouping, so maybe it's like your chest and your biceps, or your arms and chest, or something like that. And we do that because if you have too many choices, it's going to get very confusing. And hyperfocus is essential for moving forward on the guitar. Unless you just want to sit down and just whittle away until you finally get it. And that takes a long, long time. This practice method works a lot better. Okay, so here you go. So we've got the G down, you've got the B minor down, but you can't get to the two in time, or you can't get to one of them in time. So forget about the whole idea of getting there in time, okay? And the reason I'm saying that is that's okay to recognize. We want to be able to recognize that, hey, I'm playing this song, and every time I play this song and it goes to that chord, I'm the guy looking goofy because I can't play the chord in time. That's good to observe that. But once you observe it, now you know what it is. Stop hammering yourself with this and just understand that practicing this routine over and over again without trying to stay in time, it will still get you there. Now, accuracy always leads to speed. It's never speed, it leads to accuracy. So if you're going for speed, you're going to get frustrated. If you're going for accuracy, that's attainable. You can attain it immediately. But speed is something that happens in time because of being so accurate. That's another huge proverb that if you don't understand that and if you don't believe that, then you are really setting yourself up for some major heartbreak when it comes to guitar. So when it comes to anything on the guitar, focusing on your accuracy is truly what's going to make you a fast player and everything else that you're looking for, because the devil's in the details, right? You've heard that before. If you haven't, you have now. So here we go. So you've got your G chord and you've got your B minor chord. People are looking for these exercises. How do I fix this? You fix it by focusing on the one thing that you've got and the second thing that you've got, and then filling in that gap, okay? So, and the way that I like to do this is I like to, again, observe what each finger is doing and when. Setting up some sort of protocol. I'm going to make a real quick analogy here. Very, very quick analogy. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. Boy, this is a long one. Whatever you practice is what's going to come out, okay? So, for instance, I heard this story. Oh, God, can I make this short? I'm going to try to make it short. I heard this story of these police officers that were learning a certain technique in their shooting in shooting on a gun range. And their superior officer said, anytime you shoot, after you get done shooting, you need to pick up your brass. Those are the shells that come out after the bullet leaves the gun. It's the piece of brass that lays on the ground. So he taught them to do this. Every single time after they got done shooting their rounds, they would pick up this brass and stuff it in their pockets. As the story goes, I don't know if it's true or not, but as the story goes, these guys, because they were partners, they get in a shootout with one shooter. Both of them get shot. I don't know if they died or nonetheless. None of them. Anyhow, both of them got shot. When they found the officers, well, that's how the story goes. When they found the officers, so apparently they were dead. When they found the officers, their pockets were filled with brass. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But here's the moral of the story. Whatever you do in practice is what you're going to do in real life. Amazing proverb. You got to take that to heart. Whatever you're practicing, and this is with anything, guitar or anything, whatever you're practicing is how it's going to turn out in real life. So if you're in a situation where you're on stage and you're freaking out and you haven't practiced something a certain way, then who knows what's going to happen. You're going to default to whatever way you were practicing. And if it's a bad practice, you're going to do that. Maybe filling up your pockets full of brass. That's good. Good for the sergeant, right? But not good for you because you're going to get shot. Back to guitar. Nonetheless, we've got to set up a specific protocol that happens every single time. So in the beginning, you've got to be very observant about this. Later on, you don't have to because you've built this habit, okay? So when I'm building a chord in the beginning or I'm teaching a student how to build a chord, I always like to build the chord from the lowest note to the highest note. So from the thickest string to the thinnest string. Why is that? Well, number one, when we're strumming a chord, we always start on the thickest string to the highest string or the thinnest string. And because of that, sometimes you have fractions of a second, which oftentimes is all you need to form the rest of your chord. So you go to form your chord like this, you're rolling your fingers and you're forming the chord like 6th string, 5th string, 2nd string, 1st string. And sometimes that will give you just enough time to make sense? So very important that you set up a protocol, and the easiest way that I've found and the most logical way is to build the chord from the lowest note to the highest note. So we've got that G chord and we're setting up this protocol. We're doing it every time. Then we go to the B minor chord, we're going to do the same thing. 1st finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger, 2nd finger, then the rest of that bar. Or 5th string, 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. And doing so is going to give you time, number one, to pick that chord slowly, and more importantly, it's going to set up a protocol that's specific, that every single time, in the beginning, you're going to have to think about. So it's a little bit of extra work in the beginning, will save you tons of heartache later on. Kind of like doing your taxes. It's a pain in the butt to do it when you got to do it, but boy oh boy, as opposed to waiting a few years to do it and getting that knock on the door. It's really important to do it. Take the time to do it. Sometimes you just got to dig in and do the work, right? Same thing with this. Now, once you do that, okay, now you've got that protocol setting up those chords. Then when you're moving from one chord to the next, accuracy is more important than speed. In fact, accuracy bursts speed. So you're going to be getting the speed that you want because you're focusing on accuracy. Focusing on speed is going to frustrate you every single time. And you can't get to speed without getting accuracy first. So you might as well just focus on accuracy. So now what you do is you say, I'm on this G chord. Here's one of the most important things about transitioning in chords is having visualization. You hear me talk about this all the time. I use it in every part of my life. Visualization. You do it too. When you're getting in the car and you're going to the store, you visualize that you're going to that store first, or at least you say, I'm going to Kroger or wherever, Piggly Wiggly or wherever you're going. You say it first, or it's in your mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't get in your car and turn the ignition on and start moving. You have a mission in mind. And typically, we always have some sort of vision for the day, going to work, going to school, whatever. So you're doing this already. We have to do this with the chord. So we're on this G chord. What a lot of people do is they lift their hand up and then they start thinking about that next chord. Sounds like a very simple little difference in what I'm about to tell you here, but it's absolutely crucial in you getting this right. Will make you a faster player without your fingers moving faster. In fact, speed has nothing to do with your fingers moving faster. It has to do with you thinking faster. Remember that. It has nothing to do with your fingers moving faster. That is a byproduct of thinking faster. My fingers can move as fast as the fastest guitar player in the world, but not necessarily on the fretboard in the accurate way that they do so. That comes from many, many hours and weeks and months and years of hardcore practice, okay, and real specific, defined, focused practice. So now you've got your two chords and you're focusing. Where was I at? Okay, so now we've got to, let's say we're on this chord. I've used this analogy in my courses, in the free course and in all my courses, is that when we're going from one chord to the next, you have to observe that chord before you get to it. You have to visualize it. Think about this for a minute. If we had a river and we needed to traverse that river and there were rocks, there were jetties set up. I did this as a kid all the time. I lived at the beach and they had these giant rocks and you had to size up the rock before you jumped from one to the next or you're going to bust your shins open and bleed all over the place, and that's no fun. We don't want to do that. So in the same way here, you're going to flub your chord and we don't want to do that. Okay, so we have to size up that rock before we jump to it, right? We need to do this internal math, like this is how far I need to throw myself, and I'm going to grab here with my hand, and my feet are going to land like this. And you're doing all that math in your head, right? And we have to do the same thing when we're going from chord to chord. So you've got this chord here. What I like to do and teach students, now I don't have to do this anymore because I've built this habit, right? But what you would do is you would visualize the chord. Well, what does it look like on the fretboard? You're literally asking yourself this question the first few times. And then you're like, well, which finger is going where? Well, the first finger doesn't move. Okay, that's nice because normally you're lifting that hand up and then you're assembling it. Well, you just wasted a movement because that first finger didn't even need to move. And in fact, now it's an anchor because we're going from the G to the B minor. That first finger doesn't move at all. Well, that's something consistent. So now when we start setting up those other fingers, we've got a benchmark. Okay, we've got a cornerstone. We've got something to hang on to that's going to allow the chord to be built quicker. So little techniques like that for the rest of your life, because you're going to play a few chords in your life. You're going to play a few scales. In fact, you're going to play, that's all you're going to be playing, right? Scales and chords and solos and everything else. So these little techniques you're going to use all the time. That's why I emphasize so much the basics, because people just jump right into a lot of complicated stuff and they don't have the basics down yet. And the basics you're using all the time. 100% of the time. And the complicated stuff you're using like just a fraction of the time. So I would rather a guitar player be really good at the basics and have a really good ear and know these basic bits always, 100% of the time, than some player who knows all this technical stuff and just can't really execute it very well. Okay, so you've got that protocol, and now what you're doing is you're sizing up the chord before you get to it. So I'm on my G chord, I'm thinking about the B minor, I'm visualizing where each finger is going to go. This first finger is going to go here, third finger is going to go here, fourth is going to go here, second finger is going to go here, and I'm going to bar the rest of it. And so I literally think about this before I do it, and then I try to do it all at once, but still building the chord up from the lowest note. So I know that's contradictory. But what you're wanting to do is eventually it's going to seem like it's one movement. At first, you build one note at a time, and that's how your protocol is going to be. You're going to build up those notes one at a time. Here I am at the G, I'm visualizing the B minor, and I build up the chord. I'm at the B minor, I'm visualizing the G. Now you're going to do this a lot slower. Take your time with it. There is no set speed for this. It's what works for you. The slower the better. The more, I should say, the more accurate the better. Okay, so here we are at that B minor. I'm thinking about the G chord. I'm sizing it up. I'm visualizing this second finger is going to go here. First finger is going to stay there. Third and fourth finger are going to go on third frets of second and first string. And then I set it up. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, and I'm doing each note at one at a time to start, but then later on, it's going to seem as if it's one piece because I've done it so many times. That is 99% of what you need to understand when it comes to transitioning. Okay, if you take this one technique and use this for all your chords from here on out, I promise you, you are not going to have issues with your chords if you practice this to the extent that you start doing that chord. Okay, if you want more details about this, then check out the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. I drill down further in it. Okay, now. This PDF that I've created for you, if you're like, what PDF, Eric? It means you've come here late, and that means you haven't looked into the description of this video where you're going to see something about the bonus PDF. Click on that, and then you will have that PDF. So you can see a few different tunes here. And this first one, Counting Song, is actually Feist's 1, 2, 3, 4. This was a famous song a few years back. And you can see there it says in 4. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You ever heard that tune, right? Sure. That's a counting song. So in this case, though, it's capoed at the 2nd fret, and it's got the feel of C. So sometimes I'll say, well, don't worry about that. I'd have to go into some detail in regards to that. That's covered in the free course. But you can see here, you see intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, okay? That's that song. And here's how it works. If the song's in 4, then that first little section there that's underlined, that's 4 beats. And when the whole thing is underlined, that means each one of those guys gets 2 beats. So for instance, 1, 2, and then the G/B, which I'm not going to show you that chord. You should know it. If you don't, then it's in the free course. That next chord is an inversion. We hold that for 2 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the A minor is for 2 beats. 1, 2, and the F is for 2 beats. 3, 4. So it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you were practicing this at home, you know, you won't practice with a beat at first if you're having difficulty with any of these chords. You'll use the technique that I've showed you here. And then eventually, to get the timing in, like we mentioned, we'll need, and I talk about this later on in this PDF, is that you'll count it very slowly. You'll go like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Whatever speed it is that you can accurately get to the chord. Now some folks will say, well, I'm still having a problem. Okay? It's because you're staying on the last chord too long. The first part of the chord, when you play it, is the most important part of the chord. If you leave the chord early before, it's not a problem. It's kind of like if you're at a meeting, you know, the next guy you're meeting with would rather you get there on time. You're going to have to leave the other person a little bit early to be there on time. That's the way it works. So, if I play this, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm leaving this C chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm exaggerating how early I'm leaving the chord, but you can see it's less obtrusive, I'm not sure, whatever. You got the, it's going to be less disruptive than not getting to the chord on time, than doing like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're all over the place. We don't want to do that, okay? So leave the last chord early. That's another little trick. You got to do that. If you notice the chorus section in this, it's just G, F, G, F, and because nothing's underlined, you just see that chord there, and those are held out for 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, back to the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sense? And then later on, you know, there's Big Cheater there. That's actually Carrie Underwood's, she had a song, something about cheating. Before He Cheats, that's that song right there. Basic idea there, capo it in 4, and here you got each one of those chords are 4 beats, and so on and so forth. Now you're going to see the next one, Big Cheater, is actually in the Nashville number system. If you want to know more about that, that's a whole system that I teach that you got to know if you're living in Nashville. But what I've found is, if you're a musician, you better know how to use it, because it's going to absolutely unlock music for you. I didn't know the Nashville number system truly the way it's taught here in Nashville until I moved to Nashville. I knew it as the number system. I studied classical, and I had a basic idea of numbers and the scales, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, where each of the chords are related to one of those notes. Instead of calling them by the letter name, you call them by the number. And there's a lot of advantage to understanding this real basic system. It's super easy. And so that's what that is that you're seeing there in the number system. So I've got videos on that if you want to see that on YouTube. Just type in YourGuitarSage number system. Okay, so that's all we're going to talk about there. Well, there is a color coded chart in this as well. If that doesn't make sense for you, you got to check out the free course. But this is basically going to show you the chords that work in each key, and that's as an extra for you for the number system part of the course here, or this PDF. So for instance, you see Big Cheater, we'll say, let's see, Big Cheater is like minor 6 5 4 5, minor 6 5 4 5, and we said it was in the feel of G. And so if you come down to the colored section of that PDF, and then you see key of G, which is the very bottom major key one, you're going to see those chords going to the right: G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished. And so if it's minor 6 5 4 5, then the minor 6 in this key would be E minor, the 5 would be a D, the 4 would be a C, and then back to the 5 again, which is a D. Now, why wouldn't I just say G, C, D, E minor? Talk about that in that Nashville number system video. There is a lot of advantage to understanding music this way. If it sounds confusing to you, it's because you don't understand the advantages to it. You've got to just believe me and dig into it. Anybody else out there who knows the Nashville number system, please give your testimony, because they will overcome the beast by the words of their testimony. Oh, there's my old church background coming out. Okay, so here we go. Let's get to some questions. And oh, and by the way, yeah, when you're practicing these, just remember to go nice and slow. Commit to the beat. Nothing wrong with that, committing to the beat, but just do it nice and slow, enough to where it's not freaking you out and you're like, oh, I'm not getting to the chord on time. You might not get to the chord on time because that's the way it works at first, okay? You're just not going to get to it on time, and that's fine, okay? Okay, so let's do this. Let's get to Facebook, and let's get to some questions. And then I'll be popping over to YouTube. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't already, my friends, make sure that you download the free PDF. I've made it for you. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it, right? Let's do this. Let's get to... Shut your mouth, Mr. Man. Okay, so here we go. So let's look at some questions here on Facebook, and then we'll head on over there. Okay, Tallahassee. I got a Florida boy in the house. Brian, how you doing, brother? I am a Florida boy myself, actually originally from Central Florida, Cocoa Beach area. Okay, make sure you have a question mark on front of, or you know, at the end of your question. If you want to put one in the front, that makes it even easier for me. Otherwise, I'm jumping over anything, because questions should have a question mark. Otherwise, it's a statement. Okay, good freaking morning to you, Mark. South Florida, Donald, that's where I want to end up, my friend. That's my love right there. Darren Lee Harwood, is it better to add effects for this? And what do you recommend, chorus, sustain, or other? Darren, for what we're talking about here, Darren, this has nothing to do with effects. Really, we're just talking, don't use any effects at all. We want to just concentrate and focus on moving from one chord to the next. So you definitely don't want to use any effects. It's going to get in the way with what we're talking about. This one doesn't have a question mark, but I happen to see that it's a question, which is rare. Put a question mark behind it always. How do I start with guitar from scratch? You start with guitar from scratch by watching the course that I've painstakingly created for you. It's literally the first 30 lessons that anybody would ever teach if they know what they're talking about. The first 30 lessons that if you visited me in here in Nashville that I would teach you. So make sure you go there. YourGuitarSage.com/30. The link is on the screen there. All right. I'm confused about guitar note. What is the solution? Easiest learn. I don't know what that means, Badur. I do not know. I'm sorry. Start with the free course. That is going to get... 99% of the time, it's going to answer your questions. Start there, okay? YourGuitarSage.com/30. Okay. Evan is saying, hey, Eric, I have had this debate with friends before, but if you just play guitar as a hobby, does that make you a musician? Yeah, sure, you're a musician. If you pick up the guitar, if you bang on a drum, you're a musician. Do you need to go do gigs to be a musician? Nope. But you need to get paid to be a professional. Professional is someone who gets paid. Or at least that's how I grew up knowing that definition. Do you need to do gigs to be a musician, or are you just a guitar player? What do you define a musician as? I wouldn't even get worried about that, Evan. Labels like that are just gonna box you in. I wouldn't even worry about even the concept of that at all, you know. But I'm telling you, I'm saying you're a musician. Like a musician, someone who plays music. So if you can play, you know, then you, sir, are a musician. Okay, so do not be concerned with that debate. That's a waste of time, waste of your time. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna bump over, friends, to this live bit here. And for some reason, hold on, hang in there with me. All right, so I'm answering questions over on YouTube. So let those rip, my friends. And please, 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 make sure that you add a question mark, okay? All right, there's my little chat. Sorry, I didn't do this beforehand. All right, here we go. Here's my chat. Okay, so. And Fender, how can I overcome the fear of playing in front of others? It makes me very nervous. I found there's a few things that you can do. And number one is to practice more than you think you should. If you get to a certain level where you're like, yeah, that'll satisfy everybody, I'm playing really well, don't even come close to stopping there. You want to just keep going to where you live and breathe the instrument towards a part of you, okay? Now, some people say, well, I don't have the time for that. Okay, well, then if you get nervous because you're messing up and you mess up, then, you know, you'd have to have some sort of mojo done to you to undo that. You're being nervous, right, because you're messing up and you want to make a good impression. I have the same bit, you know. I teach so much that when I play, I don't feel like I play like where I want to be, and I've always been that way. I've never played as well as I want to. Dobie Dad, hey, is from Titusville. Dobie Dad, I was born in Titusville. How about that? In Jess Parish Hospital. So, like, you are my neighbor, and my family is still down there. So, yeah. So, you know, if you want to get good at playing in front of people, obviously play in front of people, smaller crowds, but practice to where you absolutely dominate the instrument, because then you're going to be more confident, okay? When you see these people doing these TED Talks, I guarantee you that's not the first time they've done that talk. They've done it a bunch in the mirror, timing themselves, the whole 9 yards, okay? So make sure that you really, really, really just hammer it, you know? Someone's asking about silicone fingertips to practice guitar. Ultimately, do they help or hinder? They hinder. So you need to build calluses on your fingers, and yeah, it's going to hurt, but it's not like getting a stick in the eye, right? It's real simple. So definitely do not use those. They're not gonna help, you know. Okay, I'm finding it is hard to not mute the high E string while playing the G chord. Any advice? Tori, yeah, if what I showed you today does not cover that, then you need more chordal advice when it comes to playing your chords. That's why you got to check out the free course, because there are bits and pieces that we weren't able to cover today that would take a good half hour to cover that I do in the program. So make sure that you do that. Anybody who has any issue, number one, if you're anywhere from a new to advanced guitar player, watch that free course, because there are bits and pieces that people leave on the table all the time, and I've created it there for you for free. You can skip around, you can jump around, go to whichever one you want, whatever chords whatever videos you want. Very, very important that you make sure that you cover those beginner bits, okay? Tori, you need to observe why it is that that's being muted, which finger's muting it, and then find out which finger's doing that, and then don't do it anymore. And then practice don't doing it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's exactly what you want to do. The reason you're doing it is because there's there's something about your technique that's, you know, lazy. It's not you that's lazy, it's just the technique. This is the first time doing it, right? So you want to make sure that you undo that, observe it first, figure out what you're doing wrong, find out the right way to do it and practice the right way of doing it, like we talked before. If you're practicing a bad habit, you're going to get amazing at that bad habit. If you practice a good habit, you're going to get amazing at it. If you want to jumpstart on learning bar chords, what would you say the most essential ones to learn are? The most essential bar chord to learn is the F major chord, because in doing so, it will allow you to play hundreds of bar chords. I cover this on YouTube. Just search YourGuitarSage bar chords, and then also effing F chord, E-F-F-I-N-G, F chord, because I will show you specifically how to play that F chord. If you can play that F chord, you can play all these other chords, okay? Learning about triplets now in class. Can you explain? Yeah, so a triplet is when so normally, we subdivide the beats in half and in quarters. And so that's very symmetrical, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we just keep cutting it in half. But a triplet is when we take the same beat, and we put 3 in there. So it's like triplet, 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 triplet. Okay, and it's great. An easy way to remember it is to say the word triplet like it's 3 syllables, which it's not. It's triplet, triplet, it's 2. But we want to say it like it's 3 syllables. Triplet, 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 triplet. And of course it throws your strumming off, right? Because it's like down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's okay. Down, up, down, up. What tips would you give for a blind person wanting to learn to play? Boxcar Johnson saying, Boxcar, you get a pass on no question mark. I'm joking. So yeah, no, that's totally fine. If honestly, I've never been blind before, but there are some amazing blind players, amazing. And to me, I almost think that there is some degree. And I'll say this without, someone's going to get pissed off, but I'll say it. I think there's some degree of advantage to playing that way in the long run, because you're going to understand the instrument like someone with eyes who can see is not going to, because you have to feel, and you've got to use your ear, and you got to use feel, which are more important in regards to, music's all hearing. We're not seeing anything, right? It's all feel and hearing. So to me, it's almost like you're doing away with the one thing that's not necessary in regards to music in and of itself. With that being said, I look down at my neck all the time, but that's because it's a crutch. So I would say if you don't want to do that, then hit the lights. Don't say I'm not going to look down, because you're going to look down as soon as you have a problem. Hit the lights, make it pitch black, go into a bathroom, go into a dark room, and play a guitar that way. That'll help. But all that being said, Boxcar, if you can feel the frets, you get used to that, you're going to find out right away that you're not going to have an issue with it. Any issues that you have are not going to be related to being blind. They're going to be related to that guitar is just not easy right in the beginning. The more instruction you have, the more you practice it, obviously, the better it's going to be. Any tips on getting strumming better? I'm already practicing 30 minutes a day, but strumming doesn't seem to get any better. Azrika, watch the strumming video in the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. I have a lot of exercises, a PDF for you to download with lots of exercises that will totally, amazingly change your strumming. But it's with that protocol that we talked about earlier. If you're not doing the right protocol, then you're not going to get where you want to get. Okay, I've written a song. I play chords E, A, and D, which key is my song in? I play the chord progression A, D, E. Which key will my song be in? If it's E, A, D, then chances are, most likely, the song's in the key of A. Okay, now conversely, it could be in the key of E, with the D chord being what's called a flat 7, but chances are, if you're playing E, A, D, chances are it's in the key of A. Did I say that right? Yeah, it's typically in the key of A. And if you're playing a chord progression that's A, D, E, that's the same chord, so it's the same thing. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're playing it in a different sequence per se. Eric, is there a formula of learning things to get decent on the guitar? Davman, yes. The free course that I'm telling you about, it's basically a summation of decades of teaching and literally thousands, tens of thousands of lessons. That's what that 30 lessons course that I'm giving you for free, see the link right on your screen, that's the formula, is to watch that in order and to do what I say in there. I promise you. That's what's going to get you there, okay? Yeah, someone said Jeff Healey. Yeah, Jeff Healey is an amazing, was an amazing guitar player and was blind. Is it true that most lead solos are played from the 3rd fret to the 15th fret? Yeah, most solos are probably, I would say more effectively, are done from like the 7th fret to say like the 17th fret. Let's say like in that section. That's pretty common. Yeah, definitely. It's the notes are higher, so they're keeping out of the mix of the rest of the players in the band, so it's gonna jump out more. It's in a different register, and boy, those notes are just more fun to play anyhow. I'm new to guitar. My fingers are being scratched and make new skin. Should I keep playing or give them a rest from time to time? When can I play without worrying about my fingertips? Nothing to worry about your fingertips. You're gonna grow skin back. It's pretty magical, so don't worry about it. Just keep playing. Do not stop playing. And if it hurts, you can take a little break, but a little break. Practice the high probability transitions, circle of fifths, C to F or G. Practice the high probability transitions, circle of fifths. Yeah, that's a great idea. What Brad's saying here is the high probability of transitions. So there are certain chords that will oftentimes happen naturally after a particular something. Like, for instance, if, I don't know, this happens all the time in life. If I don't know, gosh, anything, the end of a movie, if you see the credits going, it's probably a good time to go and leave, right? These are cues, and music has cues, and it has probability. So like if you play a C chord, a lot of times the most common chord after a C chord is an F chord. Okay, or if you're playing a G chord, the most common chord after that is a D chord. So what Brad is saying here is there's something called the circle of fifths. I have lessons for this on YouTube. Just type in YourGuitarSage circle. I have a lot of lessons for this inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. I really thoroughly go through the understanding of this backwards and forwards and understanding all sorts of bits and pieces that you probably are not aware of that the circle of fifths can do. It's magical. And so what Brad is saying is, should you learn those transitions that way? And that's a great way to do it. But Brad, that's fine, but it's a little bit sterile to me, even though that is true and there's great things that you can practice there. If that works for you, then great. But I say practice songs, because the probability of that being the same thing in those songs is this. You know, you're taking famous songs that have been written and played for years. That's high probability as well. And if you're just practicing circle of fifths, you're going to find that, well, yeah, you're going from the 1 to the 5, or the 5, the 1 to the 4, or something like that. But what you're going to find is that there's other bits and pieces that you're leaving out because of the circle of fifths. So I suggest you to just practice songs that you want to play, Is there any method regarding how to find the beat of any song and stay on beat while playing? Vivek is saying, yes, first you want to count. You want to be able to count, or not, before you count, you want to be able to tap your foot. So listen to any song. This is how I suggest this to my students always. Play a song, your favorite song, songs that have a great beat, solid beat, dance to it, whatever, and just tap your foot. If you can't tap your foot, it's going to be hard to count to it and then find the counting. So there's things that precede other things. So make sure you can tap your foot. If you can't tap your foot, keep trying. Move to another song until you can start tapping your foot or finding the beat. And it's good to count. Once after that, the next step is counting. The snare drum is usually on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Bum, ba-da-da. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, right? Back in black. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that snare drum is usually on 2 and 4, almost always. Beats are built off of that basic groove. There's a million different types of grooves, but they're based off of that basic groove, that back in black groove. And the kick drum's usually on 1 and 3. with that being said, that will help you a little bit in counting, but also chord changes will happen most often, like 95% of the time will happen on the 1. And changes in songs, say like from the verse to the chorus, happen on the 1. So the first beat of the chorus, the first beat of a chord, the first beat of the verse, that sort of thing, 99% of the time are on the 1. So, and then start counting, 1, 2, 3, 4. The song's going to either be in 4 or 6. It's going to be some sort of subdivision of that. 99.9% of the time it's going to be in 4 or 6. And 80% of the time the song's going to be in 4. So try not to overanalyze. Oh, I think this song's in 13, 6.5. No, it's not. It's in 4, chances are. So but get to understanding how to do that basic counting. All right, good questions today, friends. I love the Strat in your hand. Why do some Strats have humbucker single coil pickups in combination? What does that do for the tone? Rahan is saying, you know, a single coil pickup is going to have less output. It's going to be typically more, it's going to be like a more hollow type sound. And typically a humbucker is going to be higher output, and it's going to be more aggressive, like on my Les Paul or the SG that I have. Floating wrist or planted? Omar, what works for you? So when folks are talking about finger picking, you know, they'll say, should I plant my finger here or floating? In the classical world, you're always floating your hand. Banjo players always planting their fingers for volume. And, you know, rules are meant for breaking. I mean, understand why you're breaking them first off. But if it's helpful for you, you can plant your fingers. There's no foul in that at all. Can you explain time signatures? Yeah, I'll do it really quickly, but honestly, it's confusing if you're not looking at scores and that sort of thing all the time. You just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if you see something that's in 4/4, that means there's 4 quarter notes per measure. So for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are quarter notes. A whole note would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But quarter notes breaks them in quarters. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4/4 means there's 4 quarter notes in a beat. If it's a song that's in 6/8, that would be 6/8 notes in a measure, I should say. I said a beat. 6/8 notes in a measure. So I'd be like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But that explanation is very, very short, and there's more to it, you know. John Mayer said that the minor 6/4-1-5 chord progression was a way to sort of hacking, making a hit song. 100%. Can you demonstrate that chord progression and your thoughts on it? Yes, I say this all the time. In the order of chord usage, it's 1. This is like if you were to analyze all the pop songs in the world, it's 1, 5, 4, and minor 6. And when you add that minor 6, it adds a softness, a sadness to a song that literally thousands of hit songs have been written from. So for instance, this is a 1. If we're in the key of C, this is 1, minor 6, 4, 5. Get it? So that's minor 6, 4, so, or you could say minor 6, 4, 5. So if I did it in that order, it'd be minor 6, and you have 6 here, but if you look at the color-coded page that I have for you in that PDF that's in the description of the video, you're going to see that what I'm talking about is correct, and really the 6 is minor. So you always want to play that minor. So in that case, a 6/4-1-5 is going to sound like. Let me hit the bass notes too. So makes sense. And if you did that in the key of G, it would be G, E minor, C, and D. And you can do those in any sequence, and it's going to sound pretty good, you know. That's how that works. Andre has hemorrhoids. There's no question there. It's just he wants everyone to know that he has hemorrhoids. And Andre, I'm sorry for you. That really sucks. You might want to try some Preparation H or, you know, some mint oil or something like that. No, don't use the mint oil. That would be bad. But I apologize for your hemorrhoids. How can I get my fingers harder? Play more. Seriously. Some of these answers that I'll say are short. They're not meant to be terse. There's no more detail to it. You want your fingers harder, you play more. What are your thoughts on the guitar attachments that help to hit the right spot? They go over the strings and have buttons to push, so they help. No, that's not playing guitar. That's lazy. Throw them away. It's crap. That's not playing guitar. You might as well play Guitar Hero then. That's my... And nothing against you. I'm just saying that's great. You know what those are great for? People that don't ever really want to aspire to play anything but some basic open chords, and they want to look goofy and have this giant device there, and they're totally fine with it. But if you bring that around your guitar playing friends, they will beat you up. I'm saving you an ass beating, okay? If you have limited time to practice, what should you focus on as a new player? Is it just practice what you have trouble with? Or is there one thing that's better? Anthony's saying. Well, again, the free course, if you follow that step by step, those are the things that you're going to be using 99% of the time. In fact, you're going to be using them 100% of the time. There's nothing in that you're not going to be using all the time. So covering the basics is really important, more important than anything else. I mean, think about it for a minute. How important is college if you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to do basic math, if you don't have basic social skills, if you don't know how to wipe your hiney, if you don't know how to feed yourself? We got some basics we got to cover, friends. If you don't know those, you're going to have a miserable life, okay? So you got to have the basics down. Same thing with guitar. You've got to be able to do all those basics in order to be a dude who can function on your own, you know? But that's what you want to practice. And always emphasizing what you're having trouble with can be a little bit frustrating. So have some fun with it, but just observe that you got some things that you got to work on, right? Okay, I play about an hour every day. Any idea to learn more chords? Yeah, on YouTube, type in YourGuitarSage chords, or I've got lots of different methods for this. We did one this last weekend where I taught 120 chords in an hour. So check out that. Just type in YourGuitarSage chords on YouTube. That'll help a lot. Okay, so if my song's in the key of A, I want to add a solo to it. Which pentatonic scale should I be using, or which should sound the best? Use the A major pentatonic. So from pinky to pinky, but you're playing it in the second position. More on that on YouTube. Search YourGuitarSage pentatonic. Okay, so I have seen you jam on A minor pentatonic on electric guitar. Can you jam a bit on A minor pentatonic on the acoustic? I want to see what things would you do differently on an acoustic. Rihan, I wouldn't do much at all differently. I just wouldn't bend that much, really. It's the same scale. Nothing's different there. What is a good website to find familiar blues songs that have a soundtrack with other instruments except the electric guitar? Adobe? Funny that you say that. I have like 600 of them inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. With that being said, on YouTube I have several. You could type in YourGuitarSage. You probably could find it by searching YourGuitarSage Blues. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll teach a lesson and then I'll have a jam track afterwards. That's the place. That's the best place that you're gonna. I mean, those are really quality jam tracks. Otherwise, I would just Google search jam tracks if you don't want to do that. Trying to learn finger picking and trying to grow nails, but they keep splitting. What do you think about finger picks and which would be best to start on? I don't like finger picks because you got to carry them with you everywhere, and I just hate that, and I don't like the feeling of finger picks, but they're totally fine. Some people love them. So my nails they break a lot as well. You just have to, the best thing to do for them is to always carry a file with you and just hit them every day, just a little bit. Doing so is supposed to promote growth, but then also it takes out any little tiny nicks, because usually what happens is those tiny little nicks that get hung on your clothes or something like that, and then you've got a pulled nail and it's a big pain in the butt. So that's what to do, is constantly be filing them just a little teeny tiny bit. Any ideas for using a pick? I learned finger picking from classical arpeggios. However, I struggle with a pick. I struggle finding the strings correctly. VGod is saying, yes, VGod, watch. If you notice I keep referring to this free course, it's because one little thing that I tell you is not always going to be the thing that's going to help you. You're going to need the theory behind it, the understanding why it is that I'm telling you, and then you need some exercises. So the reason I'm referring you to other videos is if I answered the questions like you want me to in this video, I'm going to get to like 3 questions and probably not get to yours. So it's really important that I refer you to these other videos that are truly going to help you. This way everybody gets their questions answered and you get it better than me just trying to answer one little question or answer a question here thoroughly and you never get your question answered, okay? So watch the pick rest video that's in the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. By the way, the link for that is most likely in the description of this video. We usually put it there, so watch that, okay? Super important, the pick rest. No one teaches it anymore. It's a fundamental that all guitar players should have gone through to understand how to use the pick. And it's such a simple exercise, but I swear every time I've shown a student this in the beginning, they're bewildered that they can't do it because it seems so simple, but at the beginning they don't understand it. They can't do it. So once they get it, then they're like, ah, and then they gain this pick control. So really important. Eric, what are some advanced strumming patterns or exercises to improve my timing? Android, in the free course, there's a strumming video there, and I have advanced exercises for you to look at that will help with your timing. But you got to understand the concepts and the theory behind why it is that we're strumming the way we're strumming. I cover that in that video, and then there's a free PDF for you to download, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Okay, for a beginner, how many forms of each chord should we work towards? Example, A, bar chord, or A on the 5th fret, etc. For a beginner, how many forms of each chord? Brad, the first chords that you should learn are what I call the 9 essential chords. If you don't want to take advantage of the free course that I'm giving you, then go to YouTube, type in 9 essential chords, and I'll teach you the chords there. But if you want the PDF and all that stuff, it's in the free course. Really important. Okay, practice those first. Then go on to bar chords. If you need help with that, search on YouTube YourGuitarSage bar chords. Okay, Climber, Eric, is metering phrasing on low notes best than high notes? Do you feel high notes are for emphasis? I'm not sure. Metering phrasing. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But no, melody, emphasis, you're going to use dynamics, so loudness and softness. Yeah, you could use high notes for that, but realistically, you want to use dynamics, loudness and softness to emphasize notes, because your melody is your melody. It's what you want it to be. Can you explain the knobs on an electric guitar and the pickup positions? It's different for every guitar, but the Strat is the most common. So this is volume on most Strats. These are tone knobs that will, that make the guitar brighter or darker. And then this is the pickup selector. You got 3 basic pickups here. You got the bridge, middle, and neck. And in this position, we're at 1. This is the middle, and this is the bridge. So that's the basic idea there. Okay, like what does tone do? Okay, just answer that one. What should I practice if I want to play surf? Android, find a great surf tune. I have some of them on YouTube. Just search YourGuitarSage surf. I know I've taught a few, but practice surf songs if you want to play surf, okay? The prices on Fender Custom Shop Strats are really high. What's the difference in them? Rehan, Fender Custom Shop Strats are created and built by the top-notch guitar builders at Fender. There's more attention put into them, better quality parts. They're set up better pickups, better woods, better all. So that's the difference in price that you're paying. Mastering phrasing, I think he meant. Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right. Good stuff. I'm gonna head over to. This is where I'm going. I'm gonna head over to YouTube, because now, let's see here. Yeah. I mean, not YouTube. Facebook. I'm heading back over to Facebook. Okay. All right. Practice my chords on an acoustic first, and then I go to electric. It makes playing the chords easier. Is this a good way to practice? William, it's another way to practice, and if that works for you, then by all means do that. So there's not a set way to do that. If you're good with that, then do it. I would probably recommend going to the electric first because it's easier, and then it will give you that confidence to go, okay, I can do this. I just did it on that other guitar. Now I'm going to the acoustic. But that's just like a like a mind game. My granddaddy wrote songs for Ernest Tubb, but he was a professional painter. Was he not a musician too? Of course he was. Yeah, that's great, Brian. And that's cool that your dad wrote songs for Ernest Tubb. That's amazing. A donut? Nathan asks. Possibly, quite possibly, Nathan. We'll see. I'm getting hungry. Land of Oz. Eric, will there be a lesson next Thursday? I will tell you. You ready? You ready? Here you go. I'm going to tell you. Hold on. What day is that? That'll be. Today's the 24th. That will be. Yes. I'm planning on it. I'm planning on there being one. Yes. Okay. Is a Squire looked down upon? It doesn't matter if it's looked down upon, Corey. It's definitely a more affordable guitar, but it does not matter because a Squire in the hands of Hendrix will sound like an amazing guitar. It really doesn't matter. If it works for you, do it. You know what I'm saying? Want to switch to an electric, but on a budget. Is Squire looked down upon? Yeah, for sure. Don't worry about that. Just, in fact, the less you can worry about things like that, the better you're going to be. That is, when you hear musicians talk about like that kind of stuff, I'm not saying that there's not quality guitars, a difference in quality of guitars. I mean, this guitar is definitely better than a Squire, but it also costs about 100 times more than a Squire. So, that's money I could eat with or do other stuff with. So it is what it is. Is it 100 times better? For sure it's not. It may be 5 times better, in my opinion, or something. You know what I mean? How would you judge such a thing? But don't worry about that. Play and be happy when you play, and that's where you want to focus your attention. Okay, back to YouTube. Here we go. Long fingers, wide palm. Is it okay to bar all strings for chords that don't use a low E, like the B minor? You can. But what's going to happen, Scott, is you're going to get that F sharp in the bass. Instead of this sound, you're going to get this sound. And some folks don't love that sound. I think it sounds fine. So if you want to do that, then do it, at least for the time. But in time, you'll probably want to learn it to not do that, Sorry, I missed that one earlier. Who's my favorite band? I have so many, but probably Pink Floyd or the Beatles. Definitely my favorite too. Is there a difference in sound in pedals by the sequence they are set up? Yes, Dobie. I covered that extensively inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. Yes, indeed. So typically what you want is your wah and volume pedal in the front. Some people will put it in the back, the volume in the back, but the wah is typically in the front, then followed by your overdrive pedals, typically in order. Like if you have several of them, you're going to do them typically in order of aggression. So like a simple blues pedal might be in the front, and then like a OCD or a fuzz pedal might be later on, so that you can stack them. These are best practices. Then you're going to go to your modulation type effects like flangers and phasers and that sort of thing, and then delays, and then last will be reverb. And after that, if you wanted a noise gate or something like that. Now those are pretty loose, but if you polled 100 guys who know about effects, then you're going to find that that's going to agree with 95% of them. You know. Gibson going bankrupt. What are your thoughts on that? Buy Gibsons now because they will go up in value? I don't know. I really wonder about that. But two, I don't think Gibson's going away. They're filing bankruptcy, but that does not mean that they're going to go away. Chances are someone's going to buy them, and they're still going to be Gibson. I mean, that brand is so huge. It's like that would be really weird for someone not to just go offer them something, you know what I mean, for the brand. So I guarantee you Gibson's not going to go away. In fact, there's talk, you know, they're here in Nashville, so there's actually talk amongst the guys that I hang out with who are in the know with all this stuff, and there's talk about them being purchased by another company where they're going to dump all the other companies. See, what happens is Gibson bought a bunch of cheap-ass companies that had nothing to do with guitar, that were going out of date, and the CEO, apparently, from what I understand, made a real mess of things. And so, you know, the leader's making a mess of things, and everybody else is going to have a problem, too, in the company. So that's where they're at financially, and two, some of their quality has just really gone down. So with that being said, I don't think they're going to go away, and are they going to go up in price? They're pretty expensive as they are, so I don't know. Can you please suggest an electric guitar for under $300? Vivek is saying. Yeah, Vivek, go to my store, which is kit.com/YourGuitarSage. Kit, kit.com/YourGuitarSage. If you go there, you will find that I have electric guitars for under $300. Okay, good. What's the ideal amp that goes with a Fender Strat? It doesn't really work like that. You can use, I mean, it kind of does. You can use any amp with a Fender Strat, but a nice Fender amp would work. A Blues Junior would be a good one. Yeah, BCL Max said it depends on what kind of music you play, and that is correct. Is that a 60s era Strat, Eric? Yeah, this is a 65, and it was actually an early 65, so there's some controversy amongst guitar nerds where 64, 65 is like, basically 65 CBS bought Fender, and they started changing things from the way Leo wanted them, and they started cheapening some things. So most folks will say if you really want to get like a legit original Strat, you're going to get a 64. This is a 65, but it's a February 65, and basically, essentially, it is a 64. It's all the 64 parts. There was nothing CBS about this guitar. So, like, basically in February of 65, they were still using those old parts that were sitting in the bins and everything else, using those up before CBS came in and cheapened it a little bit. But, I mean, I would not balk at a 66 or a 67 or 68 or 69. I mean, those are the ones that Hendrix played, so if they're good enough for Hendrix, I'm fine with it. John's saying a Blues Junior. Yeah, that's a great one. What's the most expensive piece of musical equipment you've destroyed or damaged? I don't think I've destroyed or damaged any equipment. If you mean purposely, definitely not purposely, but no, I don't think I've damaged any of my equipment. I really take care of it. Tomas is saying, should I practice the pick rest going upwards as well as downwards? No, Tomas, just downwards. Upwards, it's just not needed. The mechanism in the way that we pick, it's just not needed. Thank you, Tori. Yes. Recommendations on posture for keeping the thumb low on the neck for chord formation and chord transition. James, if you can stand it, you know, the classical stance like this, which is also like if I had a guitar strap on, that it would be doing the same thing. That's very helpful, is to have the guitar in that position. But for those folks that have to do this, then you just want to make sure that you're securing it with your arm here so that you're not grappling the neck, you know, where that thumb comes over the top of the neck. All right, great question. Could you recommend wireless transmitters, one that connect the electric guitar to the amp with? I love the Line 6 one, and I have a a review for that as well. It may be in our store at kit.com/YourGuitarSage. If not, check out my video, my review for that one on YouTube. Just type in YourGuitarSage wireless. Micah is saying, bar chords, I naturally place first the bar, index, the root, the middle finger. It feels natural to me and works fast. Should I relearn placing the index ring finger like you did? The bar first on the root, then the middle finger. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you're playing the chords fine, then no. So, like, the reason I say that, Mike, is, you know, we're setting up protocols for folks that are having issues with chords, but if you're not having any issues with them, then don't even worry about it, you know. Brian said, I heard Gibson was unfairly hounded by the government about their wood imports, even raided by them. Yeah, they were in Nashville here. Apparently Gibson, the owner at the time, not the guy now, but the earlier CEO, is conservative, and the guys that were kind of after him were liberal, and they were being little, they weren't being very, very kind, and basically the rosewood is what's on guitars, and it's endangered. And what Gibson did is they went to the rainforest and they took the stumps that were made of redwood. Right? They weren't chopping down trees, they were taking the stumps, and they were still coming in and taking all their stuff, and it was from my understanding, I heard the same thing. It's just was not very cool. If that's the way the story really went, I really try not to hang my hat on stories like that, because you talk to one guy and he says one thing and another guy says another. Where does the pedal go in the order of pedals? Mary Beth, typically the ditto pedal or a looper pedal is going to go at the end so that you can get all your effects and all the different sounds. So if I want a clean guitar going first, and it's recorded clean, and then if I want the electric overdriven guitar over the top of that, then I get all those different textures. If it's in the front, then you're getting the dry guitar going in, and then whatever your effects are is what you're going to get as you change them, right? So it's almost like, think about it like a recorder. The recorder is picking up all the effects and everything else. If it's at the beginning, it's picking up the dry guitar, and then it's sending it through the effects. So you can't get several different sounds. You can only get the one clean guitar going through all the effects the way that it's set. Okay. For more detail, check out the videos that I have inside the Unstoppable Guitar System regarding that, because Mary Beth, I think you're in there, right? Okay. Good questions. Good questions. They didn't watch my videos, or they didn't know to be kind to all beings. Exactly. They were importing rosewood illegally, not a political issue. Well, Ray Baby, I think I just addressed that, didn't I? Importing rosewood illegally would be, from my understanding, is if they were chopping the trees down, but they weren't chopping the trees down. They were getting them from stumps in the ground. So my understanding is, and I'm not going to argue about it, I could give a shit. I don't care. So if you want to babble about it yourselves, you guys can, but I don't really care. It doesn't matter to me. So it's a waste of time. But nonetheless, it's we're talking about stumps. So I don't know about you, but if it was a stump and they're collecting that on land that they have, then what's the issue, right? Exactly. Who cares, right? How's Mercedes? Who's Mercedes? I don't know who that is. BCL Max. I don't know who that is. Who's Mercedes? Okay, I'm jumping over, and I don't mean to be fresh there. I'm just being honest. Like, I really don't care about that. I care about the environment, but I don't know what the facts are, and I'm not going to sit here and waste my time in a guitar lesson arguing about that. Not being ugly, just being direct, which nowadays people call that being rude. All right, so I'm back to Facebook here, and we're probably going to close up shop here in about 10 minutes, okay? So we're going to go about an hour and a half today. So I'll answer some more questions here on Facebook, and then probably pop over one more time to YouTube, okay? Thank you so much, Corey, and you are welcome, sir. Glenn is saying, why do you do what you do? You're so generous in giving with your knowledge, your whole support crew as well, sir. Thank you so much. Glenn. I really appreciate that. You know, everybody has something in them that drives them. Whether you know it or not, you've got it in you. You just got to dig in deep and figure out what makes you tick, what is life about to you. Chances are it's going to have something to do with your family. Maybe it's yourself. Maybe you want to make a ton of money. Maybe you want to change the world in some way. And I know since I was young, I've always had a love for animals, and I've always had a love for just kindness and just peace and love and happiness and all that good stuff. And I've found out that I loved guitars early on in my life, and then I loved teaching, so I love helping people get from one place to another. So like this combo of things just really it's so funny because like I didn't really analyze that till just a few years ago and was like, oh gosh, that makes total sense. I think might have been at the Tony Robbins seminar or something. I don't reading a book or something. I realized, oh wow, that's why I do what I do. So it's good to know those things, why we do what it is that we do. It's really helpful. But thank you for saying that. Pat Stoker, my buddy from high school. How you doing, buddy? So Rick is saying, hi Eric, I play acoustic and write my own songs and can play, but I'm stuck when it comes to playing up the neck. Totally foreign to me. Any suggestions? Rick, yes, watch. Okay, so I have a video that shows you how to understand the whole neck. There's a couple things I want you to do. Watch the video that's in the free course that's about naming the notes on the neck. Essential. You've got to know that, number one. Number two, and if you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System, you can just search springboards. If you're on YouTube, I have less videos for it, but I have a couple of them at least. Search YourGuitarSage springboards, and I will teach you a technique to understanding how to play up the neck and know where you're at. Okay. Essentially, anything that you do down here, if you do it 12 frets up, you're going to be doing the same thing. It's just in another key. So, for instance, if I go, I can come up here 12 frets, you know. Those are octaves, so that's another thing to know, but then also I could do the same thing like, let's see. If I had a frets up there, if I had a 20 whatever fret. So there you go, right? All right, good stuff. Great questions. We'll go about another 8 minutes-ish. And yeah. Okay, so let me bump over now to YouTube again. Sorry, I should have set this up before. I got all sorts of stuff open here. I got to close out. There we go. There it is. Here we go. All right, so I'm back on YouTube. Okay, I'm finding my fingers are too big to fit together inside the fret when playing an A chord. Any ideas to help? Yeah, you could bar it, Tomas, or depends on, you know, most people will use fingers 1, 2, and 3, like that. But you could move the second finger up and the first finger down, so just have them switch positions, and it gives you a little bit more room. Okay, that's another way to do it. That's very, very helpful. Or you could use fingers 2, 3, and 4. There's 3 different ways. Oh, Mercedes, my cat. No, I don't have a cat named Mercedes. Let me think. I've got Choopy, I've got Baby Cakes, I've got Tux, and I have Bedford. We call him Bieber's Vegas. I don't know why. I'm finding that my finger, okay, so we said that one, right? Is the chord transition from A to D really hard, or is it just me? It's hard in the beginning. You know, it's not just you. It's hard in the beginning. But then if you get used to it and you're following the techniques that I'm showing, you're going to be fine, you know. What's the best type of acoustic for bluegrass sound? Brian, Martin guitars are known as the bluegrass acoustic guitar. Those are the ones that those guys play. Hands down, that's the one. All right, great stuff. Okay, popping back over to Facebook and a few kids were slowing down a little bit, so that's okay. We're gonna have we're stopping at a good point here, okay, coming up. Okay, Mark is saying, Eric, when will you be giving opportunity for lifetime UGS memberships at the discounts you've had in the past? I hope to take advantage of this soon. I'm on a fixed income, and it's easier for my family to swallow 150 more than 500. Mark, thanks for asking. So the course is actually $400, and you know we've done a discount of 150 before, but it's very, very rare that we do that. I mean, that's like we're giving away the farm on when we do that. And when we're doing the next one, I just don't know. However, that being said, Mark, that being said, we do have a special that's going on right now that doesn't have it's not Unstoppable Guitar System. It's the Complete Guitar System. This is the one we did a broadcast. I think it was this weekend, but nonetheless, we maybe it was last weekend, but nonetheless, it's the #1 guitar lesson series on Udemy.com, which is like a paid YouTube. It's an amazing course. We have had, I think, over 65,000 people in that one specific course. In all my courses on Udemy, we've had like 125,000 people in there. So these are good courses. We're not, you know, the reviews are honest. You know, 125,000 real people have been in these courses. So more for that. If my assistant Chris knows the URL for that, I'll have him post that in Facebook. Chris, if you can do that, if you remember that link. I think it might have been, I don't know. Yeah, YourGuitarSage.com/ I don't know what it was. But nonetheless, if we find it, we'll post it there. Otherwise, you can go to Udemy. You're going to pay more for it usually. And so be looking out for that link. We'll try to post it to YouTube as well if we get an opportunity to do that. Great questions. Oh, great. Thank you so much. All right. There you go. YourGuitarSage.com/May11. So, Mark, that course has more videos than you'll probably ever watch. At the discount, that basically it's $100 off. Normally that course is $144.99. We're selling it for $44.99 right now. I think that coupon code will still work. And essentially, it's like less than a cup of coffee for each lecture that I do. And I think we have over 300 lectures in there. We call lecture or lesson. Over 300. And like I said, most people that have bought that course, they have not gone through the whole thing. There's so much information in there. So if you're really looking to get into some lessons today, friends, where you're not paying a lot of money, that's a great place to take advantage of that. If you're really looking for the creme de la creme, then make sure you're in the Unstoppable Guitar System. And if you have $0 and you have no intentions on you know, really progressing with guitar any further than really having some amazing basics down, you'll still be an amazing guitar player. But if you're just never gonna spend anything on guitar, then go to YourGuitarSage.com/30. At least take advantage of that from me, my free course. Those same 30 lessons, if you visited me here in Nashville, would literally cost over $1,000 with the same dude in the same studio teaching you the same exact things. It's just that here they're on your screen and in the privacy of your own home, and you can watch them whenever you want. So take advantage of that. That's YourGuitarSage.com/30. Glenn is asking, UGS 2.0, how's it going? Glenn, we were hoping that it would be up today, or actually Tuesday. That was our goal, was to have it up Tuesday, and was literally on the phone with my tech guys this morning, back and forth, texting and calling and all the rest, and we're running into some issues. But guess what? If something can be broken, it can be fixed. So we're going to get it running. But all that to say, there's some really high-end technical issues that we have to resolve before we do that. But it's going to be done, and it's going to be soon, and you're going to get an email from me when I do it, Glenn, okay? For those that are wondering, that's the Unstoppable Guitar System. We have a 2.0 that's coming out very soon. And, oh, Mark is saying, I've got the Udemy course. Then, Mark, you're set, okay? Yeah, there's some advantages, definitely some advantages to having the Unstoppable Guitar System. But unless you've exhausted all those videos, I guarantee you that you're fine, okay? You are going to learn more than you've ever thought, okay? Oh, you've watched most of them. Okay, nice. All right, well, there you go. Watch all of them, and then let's talk, okay? But, yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, one more minute. I'm gonna try to get to a couple more here, and then we're done. I play an A chord with the second, third, fourth finger. Is that okay? It sure is. That works. How to improve rhythm on my guitar. Practice the strumming exercises that are in the strumming video. There's a PDF there in the free course, YourGuitarSage.com/30. That's the free course. A lot of people, when I say free course, they're like, I don't want a free course, I want a paid course. Okay, I'll tell you what, send me $100, okay? Because that course is not free because it's cheap. It's free because I'm giving you something that's worth a lot of money. It's a very serious course. So I'm just giving it to you. That's bottom line. I give stuff away all the time. It doesn't mean it's not worth anything, but mentally people think that a lot of times. So they're like, I don't want the free course. I want something I'm gonna pay for. I got paid stuff, but if you're just sitting there and you're wondering why you're not improving on guitar and you're not following a method, it's because you're not following a method and you're not practicing. So at least follow the method, then do the practice, and you're gonna, I promise you, your rhythm and everything's gonna be where it needs to be. Are you having issues with YouTube when you do a giveaway? I couldn't get in last week. Is here a better venue, Facebook or Twitter? DJ saying. It's different when we do those monthly broadcasts, DJ, because typically we get everybody into the chat room because that's where the PDF is at and the giveaway stuff and all that. But no, we did not have any issues with Twitter. Tons of people tweeting, so it was probably local or or something in your settings or something like that. Can you play hard rock or metal on a Fender Strat? Yes, ask Yngve Malmsteen about that. On YouTube, search Malmsteen, M-A-L-M-S-T-E-E-N, Rahan. Check that out. Check that guy out. He's absolutely amazing, okay? Lifetime means you get 2.0. DJ saying, yes, indeed, it means you get 2.0. Laugh out loud. Send me $500 there. Feel better. Yeah. Exactly. All right, my friends, that's it for today. If you're new to these live broadcasts, we try to do them every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So thanks so much for joining us. We love it. Great questions today. You guys played full out. A few things to do. Please share this before you leave. Why? Because I've shared with you. It's the right thing to do, and because you could win something. So lots of reasons to share it. So please share it on Twitter, all the different ways that you can share it. Always after the broadcast, we pick 5 winners at least, and that's what we'll be doing today. Also, take advantage of that free course. I've said it a million times, but for those folks that haven't already, I'm going to say it 1,000,001 times. Check out the free course. The link for it's in the description of the video, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Top 30 lessons I've ever taught. The most 30 lessons I've ever taught. I've taught those lessons more than any other lessons, and there's a reason why they are in sequential order, and they have attached PDFs for you. There's a whole reason why that is the way it is. It's going to help you immensely. For more, for gear issues, go to kit.com/YourGuitarSage if you have questions about gear. Oh, very quickly, announcement time. Here you go. I was building a guitar, right? The builder I was using I'm not going to be using him anymore. Great guy, and I'm still in cahoots with him in other ways. But I'm moving on from him, and it's turning out to be a better thing, actually. I'm going to be partnering with Bluesman Vintage. Bluesman Vintage has created guitars for many of the studio players here in Nashville, and a lot of the guys that are on the roads. That are on the road playing. They are top-notch guitar luthiers. I toured the factory yesterday. What was going to be a 1-hour meeting turned into a 4-hour meeting, and it was really quite amazing. So I'm so excited about that. In fact, I'm going to be sending him the specs here today. We talked about it all, and it's going to be amazing. So I'll let you know more about that, but we're moving forward, and you're going to be seeing some stuff from me on social regarding all that. If you're not on any of my socials, then you need to: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. All right, my friends, thanks so much. I really appreciate you, and I'll be back next week to do this, and let me know how I can help. All right, see ya.